Hey guys, welcome to today's live Facebook training. My name is Dr. Adam Tice, and I'm here today to share some secrets with you today about the how to solve the issue with infertility naturally. So I'm doing this because I want to help you. I have information and I want to help people live their dreams. I want to create a shift today and move you from the space of impossibility to the space of possibility by structuring some information in there and empowering you so you can take your power back and take charge of things here. So that's my goal today. So you guys that are joining live and watch the replay, what I'd like you to do is just take a second before we get into this training. I have a lot of stuff that I'm about to go over. I think I have too much stuff, but that's okay. I'm going to unload it on here. And if you need to watch this 1, 2, 3, 4 times, you may need to do that, and you may want to jot some things down as you go through here, because I'm gonna really give away a lot of really good information here, because again, my goal today is to help people conceive and conceive naturally. You know, I've been in family practice medicine for a while now, and one of the things that I focus in now is to help couples who are trying to conceive naturally and maintain successfully that pregnancy. That's what I help people do. And I'm a naturopathic doctor. I practice naturopathic medicine. So when you employ these principles of the nature cure and the vitalism, and we do this, we get excellent outcomes. Now, this also works for those of you that are doing IVF, or you know, there are different areas we can fit this information into. So listen to it through the lens of where you're at and take the good stuff, and if it doesn't pertain to you all the way, just sit that part aside. My goal today is to move you from the space of impossibility to the space of possibility. So I want to take a minute or two before we get into this and just start to think about something that makes you feel really good. It might be a person, it might be a place, it may be a certain situation, something that you really like to do, a place that you really like to go. Just imagine what that is, who that person is, and take a second if you want to. You can even close your eyes and just let that kind of a friendliness wash over you and open your body up. It will make you more receptive to learning and to soaking in what I'm about to go over with you. So just lock in that feeling of the friendliness, a person, place, situation, a vacation, something that makes you feel good, some person, something that makes you feel that friendliness. And just let that kind of move through the body. That'll start to open you up so you can have some room to take in. So let's get into it. What I'm going to focus on today is part of the infertility solution series, and what I did was cherry pick some stuff out that that's going to be coming out in the webinar. This is stuff that I use with my private patients, and it works really well. So I kind of tried to pick out some of these things, and I'm going to focus today on PCOS and solutions to that. So I promise you, at the end of this, at this live training, we're going to sum up the top 10 PCOS solutions to move you from the space of impossibility to the space of possibility. But first, I want to give a little bit of background and kind of go over about what is PCOS, what's going on, because it's a really big deal. It's some of the numbers kind of vary. It depends on what you're looking at. Some people say it's affecting 6 to 10% of reproductive age women. It's lumped into a grouping of infertility diagnoses that have to do with ovulatory and hormonal factors. and that's just a bunch of technical speak. But basically, it's if there are issues with irregular menstrual patterns or not having menses at all, or oftentimes unexplained infertility, will fall into this diagnosis, and a lot of people don't know it. So it's one of those ones that gets missed, and I've seen this get missed for 5 years, 10 years, or longer. So it is important to have a healthcare professional on board. Again, this is what I do with my private patients. There are certain labs and diagnostic workups that you can do so you can start to drill down and first see, okay, what are we dealing with when you are trying to start a family or trying to add to the family and coming up against some challenges. We need to first dig in and see what's going on, what's creating that obstacle. So the main characteristics of this are going to be irregular menstrual patterns, or totally missed menstrual patterns. That's going to be one of the most common things that people will actually know about. There's a lot going on under the radar, and that's what makes this really a kind of a complex process that's happening. The good news is it can be reversed and unwound, and you can actually be successful conceiving. Again, it's going to be a little bit different. Everybody's situation is a little bit different, so there's not a quite a cookie cutter way that we can break this down, but I'm going to do my best to give you the information, give you some pieces that you can plug and play into your life, into your world, and hopefully move you from that space of impossibility to possibility. The part of the pathology here is, I'll give a little bit of this technical information. I don't want to get too hung up on this, but there's estrogen that's being unopposed by progesterone. There's issues with excess testosterone in the system. There's issues with insulin and insulin resistance. So this is going to get you into the realm of blood sugar imbalances, and this is part of what makes what contributes to the weight gain and what makes the weight loss a little bit more tricky when you're dealing with this. So basically, this is a complex, multi-system hormonal involvement here, and so it has to be addressed from all of those angles. We can't just come at this even superficially. I think this is tricky for a lot of medical doctors to address, and it's tricky for gyne docs or even reproductive specialists to address. Because a lot of them don't have the time to unpack this with you and go through all this. And again, that's why we're taking this time on this live training series to do that, because I don't know if it's happening out there. And this is really important. So you're going to have involvement of essentially the entire hormonal system. I mean, you're going to have the thyroid involved, potentially. You're going to have the adrenals involved, potentially. We have the pancreas, we have the insulin. We're going to have the other sex hormones involved, the estrogens, the progesterones, the testosterones. And that's what the hormones are doing. They're all talking to each other and informing each other. So really, this is a communication breakdown issue. And so if we just address one side of it, it won't really bring balance to the whole picture. So that's what we're going to attempt to do, is bring some balance into this, the whole picture. Again, to really figure out what's going on, to see what it is for you. Is there adrenal issue? Is there thyroid issue? Is there pituitary issue? Is it testosterone, insulin? Where are you on this spectrum? Because that's how I think of it, is there is a spectrum, and it's this whole kind of range, and you can fall at different places on that range and have predominant endocrine hormonal organs contributing to the process, and we need to figure out what exactly that is. So again, I would really, really highly recommend to have a healthcare professional involved, naturopathic doctors. Again, that's what I am. I'm a naturopathic doctor, so I take this time and I unpack this, get the proper workups, figure out what's going on so we know how to approach this. And my patients, they respond really well. Okay, so, and I'm hoping that you will too if you can employ some of these things. I want to give you again a little bit of working kind of technical information here. I think that it helps. It helps when you can try to at least understand what's going on here, because a large part of what's happening here and the reason why I'm doing this is to essentially empower you to be your own doctor. I want women and I want couples to take their power back from the dominant school of medicine, because so often there is this power grab that's going on where, men, women, families are trying to, they're trying to conceive. Many people have been through some really, really, really serious ups and downs. And some of you guys, I've read all of your stories. Some of you guys have been doing this for a long time. And there's a kind of a power shift that happens in that process. And I think it's important to remember that you have the power in this situation, and knowledge is power in this situation. So, again, have a healthcare professional involved to help guide you and navigate this, because it is complex territory, but at the same time, maintaining your power, not just giving the power away to the person in the white coat or, the person with the proper costume, these kinds of things. You need to have the power, and the knowledge is the power here. So we'll get the blood test, we'll figure out what's going on here, get the diagnosis. So when there is PCOS going on, one of the main things that we need to start to address, and one of the simplest things to address, is the insulin sensitivity. And this is going to address the weight loss. The weight loss and the insulin resistance is key. It is crucial to improving natural conception rates and also improving IVF rates. A weight loss of even 5 to 10 pounds can make a huge difference in the outcome. And if you can get the BMI somewhere in that window of 20 to 25, you're going to greatly improve your chances of having a successful outcome here. So, and again, it's a hormonal thing. The insulin resistance is a big deal. One of the main things that we want to do here is create the space of possibility. And if you guys have been doing this, I know I've heard from many of you that have tried and tried many things. And so before we get into the top 10 solutions, I want you to create a little space of possibility, that even if you've been trying this and you've been at this for a long time, and you've tried hundreds, thousands of things, tried for 1 month, 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, and you have not been successful, I want you to just try to set that aside and create a little bit of space that maybe this can work for me. Even though I tried so many things in the past and they did not work, I'm not going to give up, and we're going to roll in some new therapies, we're going to roll in some new strategies, and maybe, just maybe, this might work for me. But that's going to be key, and that's one thing that I always ask people before I work with them. Do you think this is possible for you? Do you think it's possible? So ask yourself that question now. Do you think that it's possible for you to conceive naturally? And find that space, and let's create that space of possibility. That's going to be key. That's the first step into creating the space. And this is what we're doing. We're literally creating a space for a creation to happen inside the body. and it's part of taking the power back. We want to, let's get in. These are the secrets of success. I'm going to tell you one thing. So number one is the diet, whole foods diet, real food, eat real food, a whole foods diet. I'm not going to get into the super specifics of the diet. I'm going to give some guidelines here, and it will be enough to get you in the right direction and get you moving in the right direction, because here's the truth. There is no perfect diet. There's not a perfect PCOS diet. There's not a perfect diet for anyone. There's not a perfect diet for me or for you or for anyone. What's going to work for you is going to be different. And that's going to be different from day to day. That's going to be different from month to month, from season to season. At different times of a person's life, there will be different, the diet, it's a moving target. So the specifics will change, but the take-home message is we need to have whole foods diet. And I think focusing in kind of more of a paleo, keto kind of an eating style, organic, non-GMO, of course, eating in that direction is going to really address the insulin resistance, and it's going to get you moving in the direction and start to move the body weight in the proper direction. It's going to help you lose weight if we do those things. So number one is the whole foods diet, more kind of like a paleo or a keto eating style. And these are things you can find tons and tons of recipes, tons and tons of resources on. And I have a few more things we're going to go through here that are going to give you, that are going to kind of polish out and fine tune these guidelines for you. But again, I'm going to start a little bit higher level, and then we're going to kind of drill down and get a little bit more specific. So whole foods diet, paleo, keto, organic, non-GMO, a lot of live food in the system. That's going to set you up immediately there to start to get the metabolism, to start to get those hormonal systems under control, to get the communication there again. Because again, what we're talking about here is we need the hormonal systems communicating, because we have some systems are stressed. The overall stress in the system, when there's stress in the mind and the emotions on the physical body, which excess weight is a physiological stress. So that's a continual stressor on the system. And what that does, that sends that signal. It keeps the body in that fight or flight mode. It keeps the body in that run from the tiger mode. How many of you have experienced that? Just kind of take stock of even just through today and see, was I sketched out? Was I freaked out? Was I about anything, about, about the health, about your wealth, about some dimension of your relationship? There are so many layers and so many dimensions to this thing. And the PCOS part of it is just the tip of the iceberg. That's just the 10% that we can see. There's going to be a whole other, that whole other part that's below the surface. The health is going to be taking its toll, because the body always feels like it's having to run from the tiger. It never gets a chance to go into that rest, repair, relax, rejuvenate, rebuild, heal, tonify, right? And a lot of what I'm going to say for PCOS is not just for PCOS. This will overlap for endometriosis, or if you're trying to conceive later in life. These are going to all be helpful for you, but I chose to kind of to highlight the PCOS because it's a good example of a more complex presentation, where you're going to see different hormonal systems involved. But this can apply for really anyone that's dealing with infertility, regardless of what the diagnosis is, okay? Because here's the truth. At the end of the day, this is about it. We're taking a complex condition that is that's not well understood, and again, it's poorly treated in the allopathic model, in the dominant school of medicine, in the world of medical doctors and specialists. I don't know if it's the approach is really what it is, because the understanding here and what makes what I'm doing a little bit different than what's out there, and I don't know that people are telling you or not, is that the body has the ability to heal itself. When you give the body what it needs, give the proper nutrients, vitamins, minerals, when you detoxify the body, when you take out the garbage, when you take out the trash, all the years and years of residue that build up in the body, we need to open up those detoxification systems. We need to give the body what it needs. We need to take out the garbage. We need to build the blood and build the lymph and stimulate the vitality. This is the real secret to fertility. This is the real secret to health. And in the context that we're talking about right now during this training, is we need to give the body what it needs. We need to take out the garbage, detoxify. We need to clean the blood and the lymph. We need to stimulate the vital force. We need to nourish the tissues, nourish the blood, nourish the cells, nourish the tissues, proper hydration, proper food, clean air. These are the kinds of things that make the fertile ground. And in this context, we're talking about solutions to infertility, but the truth is, this is how I would approach any of my family medicine patients that approach me, and we sit down and we're dealing with any complex or chronic issue. The truth is, it's really simple, and we have to do these things, and then we allow the body to work and do what it innately knows how to do, to come online, and then the hormonal systems come online, then the pathologies can clear up, then that excess weight can come off. And I'm not saying that this is the magic bullet or it's going to work for everybody. It's not going to work for everybody, but it's going to work for a lot of people. And that's why I'm doing this, because I want to help you conceive naturally and create that addition to your family. That's the secret, is the whole foods diet and the vitalistic understanding. So to drill down a little bit more, number 2, shooting for 50 to 60 grams of protein a day. Really getting the protein up. And this is, again, in line with more of that paleo and keto eating style. We want to go high protein. We want to go higher protein, somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 grams a day. Number 3, increasing the saturated fats. Increasing the dietary fats in the diet. Fat got made to be the boogeyman. The truth is, fat doesn't make you fat. Sugar makes you fat. Fat is necessary, and I'm talking about good saturated fats like coconut oils, avocado, nuts and seeds. These kind of good saturated fats, they are going to actually help bring the hormonal systems online. And really, part of what this is going to do with the diet and these specific recommendations is we're talking about an anti-inflammatory eating style. And that's a big problem. What's going on is there is too much inflammation in the system. The house is on fire, and we have to put that fire out. We have to get the inflammation down. Otherwise, again, that's the stress on the system. That is the stress on the system. If the body's resources are diverted trying to deal with inflammation and put out all of these little house fires, all these little kitchen fires all over the place, it's not going to be allocating sources or be able to shunt the resources over to create and conceive and hold and maintain a successful pregnancy. That's what we're doing, okay? So anti-inflammatory. Number 4, limiting the carbohydrates. Limiting the carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, rice, grains, sugars, these kinds of things. So basically anything, and what you need to do here, the key here is we have to read labels. We have to read labels, and not just the front of the package that says natural this or natural that, because that can just be sexy marketing. They can write anything in the world on the front of that package that they want to. You got to flip the thing over and look at it and read the ingredients and look and see what's going on in there, okay? Looking at the proteins, looking at the carbohydrates, and we really want to, I'm not going to say eliminate the grains and the pastas and the things that are carbohydrate, but I'm going to say limit them, because again, we're addressing inflammation. We're addressing the insulin response systems here. And the way that we do that is by raising the protein and the fat content and lowering the carbohydrate intake. That's how you heal the blood sugar systems. That's how you start to put out those house fires so that the other hormonal systems can come online. Number 5, eliminating sugar. Eliminating sugar. So this is reading labels again. I'm not even going to go into detail about this because everybody's addicted to sugar, big time. Just look into it, start to read the labels, and know that that sugar is like throwing gasoline on that house fire, on that inflammation. And if we can reduce the sugar intake, and I would put alcohol into that kind of a category too, to really minimize the inflammation. I'm going to say eliminating sugar and alcohol. I'm going to put into those categories, kind of non-negotiable there. Number 6, there are some specific things that we can do that will start to address the hormonal systems, and we can start to use food as our medicine. And we really want to do this. This is a key, because I see so often, I see this in the world of medicine. I see it in integrative medicine. I see it in holistic medicine. I see it in naturopathic medicine. I see a lot of my colleagues practicing in such a way, and again, what works for everybody. I don't have any judgment about how anyone else practices or any other doctors or anything. There's a lot of really good doctors out there. I'm just going to share one observation, kind of maybe an insider secret here. Everyone has kind of learned this holistic language, and they put it out there. Holistic this, integrative this, holistic that. But then when it comes down to it, there is still a this for that mentality. What can I take for this? What can I take for that? Here's a supplement for this. Here's a supplement for that. Here's a supplement for this. Here's another supplement for that. Okay, that's all good, and it's on a spectrum. Okay, so where the invasive, the stronger allopathic drugs are here, and it's my understanding and my experience that you cannot poison a person to health. You cannot poison a person into tricking their body to do anything. Every once in a while you get away with it, but it's not sustainable. So we want to start to get in this direction of understanding. We want to look for, how can I give my body what it needs? How can I detoxify a little bit more? How can I build my blood and my lymph? How can I use my food as my medicine? Okay, so I'm going to put a few things in here. I'm just going to throw them out there. Daily soy intake, daily flax seed intake, and green tea. Those 3 things. They're going to stimulate something called sex hormone binding globulin, and that's going to start to lower that unopposed estrogen and lower those androgens, the testosterone in the system, to start to bring the system in balance. So if we can start to address the insulin resistance by the diet, and then using the diet to also start to positively shift the other hormonal systems in the body, estrogens and testosterones that are creating a little bit of imbalance here, that's what we can start to move in that direction. One other thing here is, I will say this, and it's a little bit of a blanket nutrient here, but I'm going to say to go ahead and start to take a prenatal vitamin. Take a good multivitamin, a good prenatal vitamin. Start to get all the basic players, the basic substrates. It's following that thought trend of, I want to give the body what it needs. And in the world that we live in today, the truth is, even if we're eating 100% organic, non-GMO food, we do that to avoid the toxins, the pesticides, the herbicides, the fungicides, which is a whole nother discussion. And especially pertinent in the world of fertility, because those are big players in creating infertility. That's a whole nother training. But we eat organic food to avoid that stuff, but it doesn't necessarily have the vitamins, minerals, nutrients, cofactors that we need to churn these hormonal systems, to turn this metabolism all the way on in a way that's really going to make a positive shift in the body. So get a good prenatal on board. I have a few that I use, and perhaps maybe I can put a link in the thing later, and I'll show you guys what I use. I didn't think of that before. I'll show you what I use. That's part of, again, addressing, giving the body what it needs so that we can clean the blood and the lymph and turn the hormonal systems on, get the communication systems firing. Another nutrient, I will put this out there, and a lot of times I will use nutrients in the short term to kind of jumpstart the system, knowing that it's just helping me jumpstart the system, and that it's not a long-term solution. So one of those things that you can use is something called saw palmetto. And that will, this is kind of specific for the PCOS picture, because it will do something. It will inhibit a 5-alpha reductase, which affects how testosterone is metabolized in the body. Basically, it tries to reduce those strong effects of the testosterone on the system. So that's something that you can use. We're on number 9 now. So I hope you guys are getting some value from this. Number 9 here, and I'm going to kind of really, again, kind of thinking holistically here. It's not all about what can I take and what can I do. It's not even all about the diet. What can I do for my diet? And these kinds of things. I would recommend that you plant a garden, that you plant something around your house, some kind of life. You start to nurture some kind of life in your world. It can be just a small plant. It can be anything. You may decide, if you have some property, you have a backyard, you have the proper climate, maybe you start a garden. Something where you can actually tend to and cultivate life around your house and in your world. And that will start to actually open up and shift you into a space of cultivation. And again, we're looking for having that shift from impossibility to possibility. So plant something, have plants around the house that you're tending to. I think this is really important. And this kind of leads me into the number 10, is get your mind right. Get your mind right. Stress is going to play such a role here in keeping the body in that fight or flight system, in that running from the tiger kind of a mentality. And if the body's in that space, it will not shunt resources over. It will not put that energy to actually conceive and create and carry and maintain life. So getting the mind right is a big part of what's going on. And, I would recommend you doing some kind of mind-body practices. Again, this is really, really kind of we could get really, really deep into that territory. But A few things that I have used personally and that I've used with my patients successfully to help them reduce that stress load. Because again, let's be real, the surface of what's going on of infertility and dealing with that, the tip of the iceberg is a PCOS or endometriosis or some diagnosis. The whole rest of that is in the day-to-day experience. How's that affecting our relationships with our family, with our friends, with our spouse, with our loved ones? How is this affecting our world? So if we can do something each day to stay connected, to stay grounded, to keep yourself in that space of possibility and keeping that mental setup, even if I've tried 100 times, 1,000 times, you try again. You move forward. You have the will, persistence, and you move forward. And I've seen this. I've seen this happen. Again, will this work for everyone? No, I don't think so. Maybe, but I don't think so. I think it will work for many, many people. But the key, the prerequisite there is creating that little space of possibility and getting the mind right is key. So those are the top 10 PCOS solutions that I want to share today on this live Facebook training with you guys. I hope you got some value from this. I would just say, just kind of think, what do I have to gain here? You have everything to gain here. What if incorporating a few of these things, a few of these tips, techniques, strategies, you may get that breakthrough. You may lose that 5 or 10 pounds. You may get the hormones to make that slight shift. And sometimes that's all it takes. It's just a little slight course correction, and then the body comes online. And this can change your life. And imagine what that looks like for you. What's that look like for you if we have just the tiniest course correction? It's kind of like if we have like a rocket, and they're shooting a rocket, and these guys, computers, now they'll figure out the exact trajectory that this rocket's going to go. What if that thing's off just by such a small amount? What happens when that thing takes off? The trajectory changes dramatically. We can't see it in the beginning sometimes. It almost is imperceptible, the shift that we make. But that's what I would invite everyone to do is take, 1, 2, or maybe all 10 of these things that we've gone over today and start to incorporate them into your world. And they may look like little minor shifts right now, but the outcome can change dramatically if we make these minor shifts right now. Because without this information, what happens if we go on doing what we've been doing and expecting something different to happen? What if that goes on for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? What does that look like? We want to shift this in a positive direction. So keeping the space of possibility is open. That's what I want to share with you guys today. I hope you got some value out of this. Leave your comments and questions for me in the box below the video here. Those of you guys that are tuning in live, I really appreciate it. And we will be doing some more of these. Again, I kind of grab bagged this PCOS section out of the upcoming webinar that I am working on for you guys. I actually took some time off this week because I was so busy, and I've been trying to do this, and I finally just had to force and create the time for this because it's important to me, because I want to get this information out, because I want to shift people from the space of impossibility to possibility. I carved out some time this week just for you guys, and that's what we're doing here, is going over some of those things. So leave your comments for me. We'll see you guys next time. I hope you got some value out of this. Let me know what your thoughts are. We'll see you again soon. Okay, bye guys.